Hello, everyone. It's me, Madam Pamita. As usual, I'm running. I'm running like a crazy person, a little bit late. Um, I had a tarot class right before our Meet My Familiar, and my tarot class ran a little bit over. So we're going to be joining. We're going to have Marcella Kroll, amazing Marcella Kroll, joining us. There she is, joining us for this beautiful thing where we're going to talk about her familiar Lord, who I am also totally obsessed with. I mean, I love seeing other witches and their practice with their animals and all of the magic. And I did get the wonderful experience of talking with Marcella while I was creating this book because I'd never had a lizard before. So talking with her, how she works with Lord and all of that. So I have a little bit of a sneak peek. So we're going to talk with Marcella Kroll today. So why we're doing this is because I have a new book coming out in January 2025 called The Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars. It's coming out through Hay House. And this book is all about how to make magic with your familiars. And when I was talking with people like Marcella about this book as I was writing it, I got all these amazing stories about how these amazing magical practitioners work with their animals. And so in doing that, I said, this is great. You guys need to hear these stories. So I reached out to these wonderful people and said, hey, do you want to be on a Instagram live with me and share your story about working with your beautiful animal? And so that's how this show was born. We have a special thing going on right now. If you pre-order The Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars before January 12th, you are going to get a special bonus and some extra bonuses coming up after January 12th. The special bonus from now through January 12th is that you get a free ticket to my full moon workshop, which normally costs $40. And in January, the full moon workshop is an intro to familiar magic. So if you would like to get that, all you have to do is either go to Parlor of Wonders and look for the Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars and that link and go there, or go to animalfamiliars.com. It'll take you directly there. You pre-order, then you let us know. You fill out a form to let us know, and then you automatically get that link so that you can get that workshop for free. So I hope that you guys take advantage of that. Anyway, let's bring in our gorgeous Marcella. Oh my gosh, there she is. She's coming in. Going to be sharing, and she'll be talking about her familiar, who is a bearded dragon. Oh my gosh, she's a mother of dragons. Her familiar Lord. Here she is.
Hi.
Oh, we get to see Lord.
Yeah,
Oh
we'll
my
see how
gosh.
long she hangs out. She doesn't like it's finally raining and she doesn't like the
Oh,
rain, so she's
oh,
trying to hide.
oh my gosh. She wants to be warm. Hope your hands are warm. That'll feel
My
good to
hands are
her.
warm. Yeah. Yeah.
She is so amazing. Well, let me tell everybody a little bit about you. Marcella is a true multi-hyphenate. She's an artist, intuitive medium, spiritual teacher, and author who has been offering tarot readings and guidance full-time professionally since 2009. She exclusively taught tarot for teens with the Los Angeles Public Library for 14 years. With an impressive portfolio that spans various creative fields, Marcella is renowned for her mystical and ethereal artwork that has been exhibited in galleries and museums across the United States. And as an intuitive, she offers readings and consultations that blend tarot, astrology, and other divination tools to provide guidance and support to her clients. Marcella is also a tarot deck creator with several decks known for their unique symbolism. Totally love your deck so much. Stunning artwork and intuitive guidance. Her teachings emphasize the importance of self-care, self-discovery, and developing intuition as key elements in personal transformation. And she has offered courses and workshops on various topics related to spirituality, magic, and personal growth. And as the host of the now archived podcast, Saved by the Spell, which I love your podcast.
Thank you.
My gosh, so many drives. I've listened to your podcast driving around LA. We do nothing but drive in LA, so you get lots of podcast time, don't you? Marcella explored various topics related to spirituality, magic, and personal growth, featuring interviews with experts in these fields. Her impressive portfolio also includes several notable works as an author and contributing writer, including the illustrated magical grimoire Priestess, the Taschen Tarot book, and her forthcoming book, Healing the Liminal. I'm so excited. Set to be released in fall. Is it out yet? Now?
No, it's up for pre-order,
Ah,
and yeah, it's up for pre-order. But February 11th is the official publication date. So
so yes, wonderful. So when you pre-order the Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars, pre-order Healing the Liminal too and help an author out, right?
mhm.
Um,
Thank you.
it's so big for the for authors to get pre-orders. It's like a
We
huge
did.
thing, you guys. So so do it. Do it, do it, do it. Um, Marcella's contributions help people connect with their spirituality, develop their intuition, and explore their true selves, contributing to the growing interest in spirituality and personal growth in today's world. And you can find her at marcellakroll.com.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Half
Sorry
of
if
our
it's a
show
little
is our
chaotic and
yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. When you lived in the city for a while, you were doing readings at when I had a shop that was on Figueroa. You were doing readings in my shop. I used to see you every week. We'd say hello. So I miss that.
I miss that too. That was such a beautiful spot. It was
Yeah.
such a fun place, and I loved like getting to like watch where the magic happens with your
Yeah.
candles and oils and things. So that
Oh
was a
my
really
God.
special time.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
fun. It was so fun. I miss those times. You just don't realize when you're in it. I mean, we should be appreciating and present in the moment and appreciating the moment because in the future you're going to be missing those
I
times, you know?
know. Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Apologies in advance if it's a little chaotic. I have Lord here who has decided she wants to be on the desk and not on me. And then
yeah.
I have a rescue pug here that is,
Aw.
she keeps trying to hurt. She really loves Lord. Lord could not be bothered. So she keeps trying to jump on my lap to be closer to Lord. So
She's Lord's familiar,
yeah, Lord is
maybe.
just like, I don't know. Lord's like, I don't understand what you are, but yeah, which is, it's interesting. I really do understand like this. Um, Lord is truly like a familiar to me. Whereas I love this dog. She's very sweet, but she's not, I don't know. We don't work together magically.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've said this in many of the interviews that we're doing. Like you have friends that are magical friends that you can make magic with, and that's very
Yeah.
special. But we also have friends that are just normal people that don't do magic, and we can still be friends with them and have amazing relationships with them. It's not like it's just different flavors, right?
Right. Totally. Totally.
So I want to hear the story, which I've never heard the story, and I would love to hear the story of how. Oops, sorry, my mic is down here. Oh no, I've got the
You're
mic
good.
here, wrong mic.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I want to hear the story of how you and Lord met because that is always interesting to me. Like, how did you meet your
Yeah.
familiar?
I, as a kid growing up, and even as a young adult, like I never had a pet, and I think like we had a family, like family dog, things like that. But I never felt connected to them. And then, um, my mom, my mom is also really like anti reptiles or, things like that. But I always was interested in them. So, um, as an adult, it took me until 2019, I started really researching reptiles, with the possibility of caretaking one of them. And I was like torn between bearded dragon and actually ball python. And doing my extensive research, I was trying to figure out like, well, who would be, the most compatible and who could I give the loving home to? And as I was telling a friend of mine my dilemma between the two, a girl walked into the cafe we were and she had a bearded dragon on her. And I was like, okay, this is a sign, I think. And then I said, oh my goodness, is that a bearded dragon? She said, yes. And then she proceeded to tell me all of these like things that I would need, like where she got their food, who the vet was, like all of these like things, that information that I needed to know. Flash forward, I've gone to a couple of conventions, like reptile conventions, meeting people, and those are always a little dicey. But I met this couple who are breeders, but they had all this really educational information. And it's so funny. I like was supposed to go on a date to this thing, and the person I was supposed to go with stood me up So I have a lot of social anxiety. This is how I knew I was supposed to do it. The social anxiety melted away, and I was like, I'm going. I'm still going. And even though I started having like a sensory overload at this thing, the couple who I was talking to, the husband noticed, and he said, "Why don't you come over here and hold this one?" And it turned out it was Lord's mother. So she was this big, beautiful, like leatherback, which is really smooth, zero morph, which is what Lord is, why she's this whitish gray color. And she was just so mellow and chill. And they gave me a lot of helpful information and tips about creating a home for her in this terrarium and a setup. So anyway, I spent 6 months with the information they gave me. And they gave me a starter pack and all this information, which nobody does, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they just we're like, no, we're really impressed that you want to like create like the proper environment and the education aspect, and most people don't do that. So 6 months of that, I went back, and it was January of 2020. I decided to go to the expo in Anaheim, and I ran into them again. And I was like checking out the different babies, and then there was one little injured one that I was like, oh, maybe I'll take him home. He's so, needs a home. But then the husband put Lord in my hand, and it was so chaotic. I don't know if you've ever seen small bearded dragons, but they're a little bit crazy. They're all running around. She just sat in my hand and looked at me and was really chill. And I took her home that day. And then, March, everything shut down. So it really was, and I lived alone. So I just like, it was her and they do all their first growing in the first year. And we developed this really strong bond and this really like potent connection. I find that she likes being present when I am doing rituals, which, most people don't think like a bearded dragon is going to have like a personality. She has a full on personality. She's very telepathic. The night I took her home, I had a dream about her ancestors. I had a dream that I was in this cave with these giant frill dragons, and they were showing me how they would slow their body down when it got cold to make it through the winter. Now, I had no idea about brumation or any of these things, but they were like her ancestors talking to me. And then from that moment on, like whenever she's the reason why I would do magic in your familiar readings, because I got this intuitive hit like from her. Um, she's so psychic though. She goes to friends like of mine that are mediums. She will go in their dreams and bug them for stuff. Like if she doesn't think I'm listening. Like one of the funniest stories I have was Sterling Moon. I think you know Sterling.
Yeah,
Sterling's a
total friends.
medium,
Yeah.
and she contacted me, and it was after kind of like you can see Lord's a bigger girl. She's always been kind of a bigger girl, but the vet was like, we got to cut back on some of the worms that she's having. um Her worms, she has different ones. The ones that are like the least nutritious, I call them her pizza worms, because she loves them, but they have the least amount of nutrition. So Sterling calls me one day and says, "Hey, like this is super random, but like I had a dream Lord came to me and she wanted pizza." And it was after I had cut back on giving her those particular worms. So it's like I just find that she is very good at like connecting psychically with people, which sounds wild, but it's just such a special connection that I have with her. And I definitely think like she was probably like my partner in a past life or
Oh
something.
my gosh, amazing. I mean, you had told me when we talked before about that story with Sterling, which I love so much.
Yeah.
But I love, this is so fascinating to me is how the meeting of your familiar is often um, imbued with like intuition or synchronicities or magic, and your story has all of those things.
Yeah.
You know that
Well,
that
even her name, like, so when I got her, they told me she was a boy, right? And I was really like, I'm going to get a boy because I don't want to deal with the eggs, right? Because the girls will have infertile eggs. And I was really adamant about it. And they're like, no, no, this is a boy. And I had her in, the car ride home. She was so small, she fit in a little like dessert cup. And I remember like just looking at her and she's looking at me. I kept being like, is your name Lionel? Is your name, Larry? Like asking her all these things. And I said, is your name Lord? And she went and looked right at me. She's trying to jump. And she looked at me and I was like, oh my God, okay, your name is Lord. And she was responsive to it. And she's responsive to her name. And then what was hilarious was like 6 months, around 6 months old, the vet was like, I think it's a girl. I don't think that's a boy. And then, yeah, about like at 8 months, they were like, yeah, that's definitely a girl. So I just kept the name and I felt like it was very fitting for her. She's definitely like a vibe. And we've had some interesting times. She's very prolific. She was laying a lot of eggs, but this summer we had to have an emergency surgery and she can no longer have eggs. And I thought that was really wild and weird because I also had a hysterectomy. So I'm like, are we just like sharing
Twin
when our bodies
flames.
are having the same thing? And she's super sensitive to my mood, like definitely. But I tell you, she's manifested like my living situations to be more expansive, to be more sunlit. I mean, I think she really helped get us here into the desert where it's more of her climate. Because we were living by the beach and it's not.
You're her familiar.
I think so. I'm her human familiar for sure. Yeah.
She's like, okay, we need to move to someplace sunny. You're going to make that happen, right?
Oh yeah. She's like, I need the sun. I need expansive. I need my nervous system to be calm. And she's just kind of, she's very aware of the conversations and when,
Oh.
yeah, just something else. Just her poor thing is just annoyed by the dog right now. So
I'm sure she's going to manifest that dog finding a great home far away from her.
probably, I'm imagining. She's
Oh
like,
my gosh. So, do you want to maybe give everyone a little example of like, does she come into your readings? Does she come into your spell work? Do you bring her in? Does she come on her own? What is like, how does she contribute her energy, I
well,
guess, to
there's
these
a
different
couple
things?
of, hey. No, sorry, the dog's trying to chew a candle. um, the she comes in a few ways. Like she really likes to sit in when I'm doing like online, like live, like group classes. She'll sit with me. She likes to be present, and um, the like when I'm doing readings or animal reading, she is present, and we have a very telepathic communication. I read her body language. Um, I also am very clairvoyant, so it's like I get imagery from her. When I'm doing spell work, she just wants to be nearby, like in the vicinity. And like I'll tell you a really funny, also manifesting thing with her. When I first got her, I put her in a 40-gallon tank, which is normally it's like what the standard is, but I knew she needed something bigger. And when I was looking at custom tanks, I was like, at the time, I was like, they're like $300, like over $300. I can't afford it,
Yeah.
whatever. But we'll figure it out. That week, I got a random email from a client of mine that was like, hey, like this is super random, but can I commission you to just do like a pencil drawing of my daughter and I'll pay you like, it was like the exact amount that the tank was, including tax. Like pretty much like it covered that. And I think like she's, really part of manifesting like a more expansive reality. And yeah, so there's a lot of that. And just being present with clients, I can tell when she's like protecting me. When someone's energy is like a little bit off or too much, she'll like climb on me in a particular way. Um, or when she's like annoyed, she gives stink eye. Like when she's like annoyed and it's like, and I'm annoyed, in a
Yeah.
way, like it's just kind of like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like I pay attention to her body language a lot.
It's like that friend in the room where something's happening. You can look at your friend and you're like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh-huh.
And then she'll like love people. Like there's certain times too, she will just like come in and she will like stare and like, it's like she is so lovingly holding the energy for that person. And most people don't believe me when I say this stuff until they meet her or they have an experience with her. So Yeah, it's just like one of those things. Like it's so hard to convey because people think, oh, you're just like a crazy reptile lady, and I'm like, no, 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 I'm a crazy reptile lady for my bearded dragon. You know, it's very specific.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I mean, all of these things seem on point. I don't think any of it is as wild or wacky or anything like that. When you actually, I think another witch who has had an experience and has that connection to an animal will understand any connection to any animal.
mhm.
And if someone is coming from like an older kind of outmoded consciousness, like animals are here to serve us
Right.
and they're just tools for us, then that kind of, I mean, gosh, it's kind of it's kind of like the whole, I mean, I hate to bring in the go back to what's happening in the world right now, but like this idea that your wife can't vote for who she wants to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to vote along with me. That's looking at your wife as like your tool,
Yeah.
like to get
Yeah.
an extra vote. It's not
Well,
like
or
you're,
an
yeah,
accessory,
exactly.
you know, and I think that's what some people, you know, kind of imagine with animals, like
Yeah.
they're an
Yeah.
accessory, but they really are our families. And again, like we do have, I don't think every animal is a familiar, um, but I think they're still
Oh,
family. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
it's just a different relationship. Like my relationship with her, um, I've just never had. She taught me. I mean, and I share this a bit, but like no joke and no exaggeration when I say she taught me how to love. Like I just was not open. I was not receptive, and she broke open a part of me that I hadn't had access to in a long time, like a softness. Um, and I really like attribute that to her. Like I'm, you know, even like dating now, like I really think I wouldn't be dating now unless without her. You know,
Mm,
she like
yeah.
really got me to express a part of me that had been so frozen or shut down for so long.
Oh my
And that's like
gosh.
that's her magic for sure.
What
You
a
know.
beautiful, I mean, this is the hallmark. Okay. So first of all, in the book, I talk about different animal relationships, and
Mhm.
we can have animals that are like our family, but aren't in our magical practice, right? Just like you can have family members that you love and care about, but aren't in your, magical practice. We can of course, have familiars that contribute energy to our magical practice, and we can also have messengers. An animal, you can have a really impactful encounter with a wild
Yeah.
animal, and it can be last 5 seconds, but be really important,
Mhm.
and so all of these relationships have, I say in the book, it's a little bit like when you're out on the strand, stranded on the side of the road, and there's a super great nice stranger who comes along and helps you. You
Mhm.
never see that person again, but they're still
Yeah.
important, right? We can have those kinds of like, just momentary experiences which are very, very deep. And then we can have these amazing relationships with wild animals, and of course our pets as well. And I've had animals that were not mammals. I've had in my own history, I've had a snake when I was
Oh,
younger, but I wasn't doing magic when I had it. I was 12 years old. I was doing magic, but I wasn't really doing
yeah.
magic.
Yeah.
So I think, I haven't had the experience of a reptile, although, did you see that tortoise that I fell in love with
Yes, I
on my
did. Yes, your new best
I'm
friend. I
obsessed
know.
with him. I cannot stop thinking about him. I had a little tortoise long ago, but he ran away. He came to us and then stayed with us a while and then ran away again. He
Okay.
found a new home. But this big tortoise, he's so Angelino, he's so cute. I can't get over him.
Oh,
He's come, the Sandra, the woman that owns the gallery, when she would call him, he comes
yeah.
like a dog.
Yep.
It's wild.
I know
So
some of them are so smart. Like I have video of her coming when I called her name at my old place. Um, she used to like go to certain places in the apartment, and then I would be like, because the thing is, she doesn't make noise except for her little nails
yeah.
are like, you know. So if I didn't hear her for a while, I would call her, and she's like, "Where are you?" And she would come out, and I have videos. I'm so glad I got it documented because. And then I did her chart because I have her hatch day, which is hilarious to say, but I did her chart and I was like, okay,
What
like,
sign is she?
oh,
I want to
she's a
know.
Libra.
Love it. Love
She's a
it.
Libra. Libra, and she's Scorpio rising and a Sagittarius
Ha-
moon.
Happy belated birthday, Lord.
Yes. So she's 5 now, which is like she's middle aged,
Aw.
which is also like, I think that was like the craziest thing for me was also like, just knowing that our time is limited and that I mean, I get sad every other day thinking about like when we're not here together in spirit, like in the physical, but um yeah, I mean, she just is so special, and I feel really fortunate to have been like able to give her a space to land and live for
I'm going to
this
say
time.
5 is the new 2.
Okay, thank you. What about that? 5 is a new 2. Yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, do you have any kind of tips or tricks or advice for someone that wants to build a familiar relationship, attract a familiar, work with the animal that they think is their familiars? Any kind of tips or tricks that you would give anybody in your experience?
I mean, honestly, like if you have that bond, there is nothing like learning their language. Like, that to me was invaluable. Like I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Lane, but he's an animal communicator, and I took an animal communication class with him that it just helped me feel more confident in what I was like, that relationship that I was building with her. Um, and it changed my whole experience with animals as a whole. Like it feels less clumsy now, like we're a guest in their house, like, so why shouldn't we learn their language, and whether that's a lot of like learning how to communicate with them telepathically or like learning their body language. I think like, I have a deck of cards that are hers. I call them, they're her cards. They are a dragon. I found this kid dragon set, and I will use them solely for her. Now, you don't have to do this, but like, I have a deck that I just use sometimes when I feel like it's too close. Um, it like, I will ask like, what are you trying to share? What do you need today? And I will pull a card from that deck. And it's just like building a rapport and a relationship daily with them, you know, and I think that's what also bonded us was because, we were literally together every day. Like I could tell when she was like annoyed because I was home every day. Like I would leave and go for a walk because I'd be like, all right, I'll give you space. Oh my goodness.
I'm working on a deck right now, believe it or not, that in the deck I have it's a familiars pocket deck, a little deck that you can take with you everywhere you go. So if you're out in nature or with your, it's handy, right?
Yep.
And in that deck, I have what this means if you're talking to another person, what this means if you're talking to an animal, and what this
Yeah.
card means if you're talking to a plant, because plants are also, aware, sentient beings. So
Yeah.
I think of that amazing connection to the and doing divination. So you're on point with that. Absolutely on point with that. Do you have anything? Well, let's talk about your book again. Do you want to talk a little bit about your book and any other projects or things that you have coming up that you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the dog is really trying to get in on here. Um,
Wait, you're
uh,
talking about animals? Aren't I
yeah,
good
like, why
enough?
are you not letting me in? Come on, you can do it. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it. She's like, she's trying. All right. So my book Healing the Liminal comes out February 11th. It's up now, like I mentioned earlier, and it's like the most intensive thing I've written in a while. It's the most personal thing I've written in a while. Usually, I've created divination tools and things like that, and even Priestess is a bibliomancy book.
Yeah.
So it's a divination book. This is not a divination book. This is a book of um, parables, stories. I channeled stories of my ancestors and past lives and different lives, as well as there's exercises and meditations and support for healing when you don't feel like you belong, particularly to a particular, group or, like I'm a multiracial, autistic person. So a lot of times, like, I would find different paths that didn't fully sit correct for me, or I didn't feel like welcome or invited. And I wanted to create a space for kind of the people who don't feel like they fit in, whether they feel like they're not fully from here, whether they feel like they're connected galactic stuff, or they just feel kind of like, how do I honor where I come from without being appropriative or, um, being extractive. So this was kind of my way of, a love letter to those ancestors and relatives of mine that, brought me here in this way. And I didn't see anything like this out there in the world, not right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. And like I said, I got into a channeling state, and I channeled different ancestors, and I would write short stories from their perspective. So
Amazing.
it's filled with those, and then a lot of personal stories as well. And it's meant to be worked with. Like, it's, yes, you can read it like from front to back, but it's meant to be like a workbook as well. So yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, it's a very, you know, labor of love project, and it's pretty vulnerable. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of terrified putting it out into the world, but I feel like it's time, you know.
It's just, you're just like me. It's like, I don't write a book because if there's a book out there that already exists that takes care of that, I'm like, I don't need to write
Mhm.
that book again. There's a lot of people that, I won't say a lot of people, there are people that will just, rehash something that's already out there. And so whenever I'm working on a project, it's always because I feel like it's something that needs to be out in the world. I want it to be out in the world. Like, I'm sure your book was like, this is the thing I would have wanted to have, or
Yeah.
I needed. And so if I need it, then there's somebody else that needs it too.
Mhm.
And so I think about that aspect of that book and what you're talking about as being like, this is going to connect to so many people and going to be fill a need. It's going to be a huge success. I know it.
Thank
So
you. I hope so. And I hope so. It's just kind of is like, for me, on the healing end of it, it just like, it makes some of the harder stuff that I've had to go through like worth it, because I'm able to share this experience.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm not trying to tie a bow on some of the harder stuff, but I think if I can put into words a place of support or some tools for other people, like, in the same concept of why I made the decks, it's because the accessibility factor or the bridge to connecting your divination in your own way was so, I felt, lacking. Like, beautiful stuff out there, but it didn't feel welcoming for every single person.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think your decks are very, to me, very approachable because you're focusing on the symbol, like that, sacred symbols deck. You're focusing on that symbol, and there's a richness in that symbol. It's personal meaning in that symbol as well.
Mhm.
And so it isn't, I mean, I have been a reader, and you've been a reader a long time. I love a complex deck
Yep.
because I love all the details, but that can be overwhelming for people that are just getting started,
Yeah.
teaching tarot. You see, as you being a teacher, you
Yep.
can see like people get, oh my God, there's too much going on. So having that deck that just, has one thing that you can focus on is often what person is
Well,
their
yeah, and
entry
it's like
point.
I like to think of them as like keys that unlock different parts of your psyche, your brain, and then you can be inspired or decide if you want to pursue like looking out further, and also not feel like limited to me. I'm so sensory sensitive. I think that's part of the simplicity of it too, is like sometimes there's so much information coming at you, like what do you need to see in this and not have it like influenced by all the other things. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. And I'm so
yeah,
sorry I was running late. I appreciate your kindness and your flexibility. I had
no
that
problem.
class. I don't know why I didn't book out extra time after my class, which I should have done, but this is the last class anyway, so I'm not going to have that problem till January again. But anyway, so I want to thank you so much, Marcella, for joining
Thank you.
me. You're such a dear friend.
Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, congratulations to you for
Thanks.
for finishing your book. And I want to thank all of you that came in, jumped in, and are watching. My next Meet My Familiar will be on Thursday, November 7th I'll be with Ali Kravitz, Bronx Witch, and we'll be talking
Nice.
about her familiar and who is Eartha Kitty. Is that
Cute.
good?
Yay. Yes.
And we'll be doing that Instagram live here at 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 Mountain, 6 Central, 7 Eastern. Just like, was that the right number? Yes, 7. um, and if you want to make magic with your familiar, you want to know how to connect to familiar, all kinds of spells. I've got over 100 spells in there, all different kinds of animals, everything from spiders and bees up to, bears and any kind of animal that you could possibly encounter, wild or otherwise. Check out the Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars. It's coming in January 2025. And if you go to animalfamiliars.com, you can pre-order and pick up a $40 workshop with me on January 13th. So
So
hope
cool.
you guys do that. Yeah, I hope you guys do that.
Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And I hope I get to see you soon. I miss INATS because that was a time for us to get together,
I know. I
So many authors got to get, I
maybe
know.
maybe there'll be something else coming up.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
I just need to do a little Southwest tour, and
Yes,
hit up all those
exactly.
places. Yeah.
There's so many places, and then yeah, I should probably be coming out to LA when the book comes out too. So
Oh yeah, I'll see you then too.
okay,
And then, I just think about like the Southwest is such a magical land. I mean, I'm in love with Arizona and New Mexico. They're just such beautiful, magical land. So maybe I'll come around and visit,
yes.
good
Let me know if
excuse to
you're
come and visit.
okay. Sounds good. All right, I'll
All
talk to
right,
you soon.
everybody. All right, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.